The morning was cool, the air heavy with the smell of damp asphalt after an overnight drizzle. Highway 36 stretched ahead, slick and glistening, the mountains of Denver hazy in the distance. Jack gripped the steering wheel of his old pickup, fatigue tugging at every muscle after a long night at the garage. His thoughts wandered briefly to Sophie, his 8-year-old daughter, already at school, her rainbow backpack bouncing with every step, her laughter echoing in his mind. Then it happened. A sharp screech of tires cut through the quiet morning. Jack's eyes shot forward, heart hammering. A silver Mercedes ahead swerved violently, its tires struggling for grip on the wet road. Jack saw a flash of white, a deer bounding across the highway. Then chaos erupted. The luxury car spun sideways, tires smoking, metal screeching against asphalt as it careened toward the concrete barrier. Time slowed. Jack's breath caught in his throat as he watched the car flip once, then twice. Glass exploded, scattering shards like deadly confetti. Flames licked at the hood, smoke curling into the sky, mixing with the morning mist. Jack slammed on the brakes, heart racing faster than the engine could roar. His truck skidded to the shoulder, gravel crunching beneath the tires. He scrambled out, every instinct screaming at him to run. But something stronger, something deeper, pushed him forward. The closer he got, the more horrifying it became. The Mercedes had taken the impact on the driver's side. The metal was twisted, the door frame compressed like a crushed can. Inside, a young woman, maybe 25, hung slumped over her seat belt. Blood trickled from a gash along her hairline. Her left arm was bent at a grotesque angle that made Jack's stomach churn. "Miss, can you hear me?" Jack shouted, yanking at the door handle. Nothing. Her breathing was shallow, strained. The smell hit him then. Gasoline, sharp and sweet, pooling beneath the car like spilled ink. Small flames crept along the hood. Panic clawed at his chest. For a moment, he froze, imagining Sophie waiting at school, her bright smile, her little hand waving goodbye. The thought of losing her, of leaving her without her father, was unbearable. But then, resolve hardened within him. He could either run to safety, leaving the stranger to die, or face the fire. He chose courage. Jack ran back to his truck and grabbed the tire iron, every step heavy with dread. He smashed the rear passenger window, shards spraying everywhere. Heat seared his arms as he climbed inside, smoke stinging his eyes, lungs burning. The seatbelt held her fast. His pocket knife, Catherine's anniversary gift, became his lifeline as he soared through the thick fabric, each cut slipping, twisting against the steel buckle. Flames erupted more fiercely through the dashboard vents. His sleeve caught fire, but he beat it out, hands raw, bleeding, shaking with adrenaline and fear. Finally, the seat belt gave way. He cradled her limp body, dragging her toward the rear window. Each movement tore his clothes and cut his skin against jagged glass. They were just 5 feet from safety when a deafening whoosh froze him in place. The gas tank exploded. Jack threw himself forward, shielding her body. Heat, force, and debris rained down, embedding in his shoulders and arms. When the ringing in his ears finally ceased, they lay 10 feet from the burning wreckage. The woman breathed shallowly beneath him. He rolled her gently, pressing his jacket against her head wound, whispering, "You're going to be okay. Just hold on." In the distance, sirens pierced the morning fog. Jack stayed by her side, every muscle trembling, every thought racing, silently promising that no matter what, he would not let anything happen to her or to the little girl waiting for him at home. small, trusting hand, reminded him that bravery was not about perfection. It was about choices made with love. Over the next days, therapy sessions tested his patience and endurance. Every finger movement, every stretch of bone muscle was a fight against pain, against limitations. Yet he endured, driven by the knowledge that life continued, and the act of courage had set in motion a chain of hope, love, and connection. Sophie, ever the curious observer, began asking questions about the stranger he had saved. "Is she okay, Daddy? Did she say thank you?" Jack nodded, eyes misting. "Yes, baby. She's alive because of you and me. Well, mostly because I made the right choice that morning." Sophie leaned her head on his shoulder, silent for a moment, then whispered, "I'm proud of you, Daddy. Mom would be proud too." Those words, simple and innocent, carried a weight heavier than any medal or award. They reminded Jack that courage was never solitary. It reverberated through lives, small and large, binding people together in ways that were invisible yet unbreakable. As days passed, Jack allowed himself small moments of reflection. He thought of Olivia's recovery, her resilience, and the faint hope that one day, the three of them, himself, Sophie, and the woman he had saved, might form a bond beyond the confines of hospital walls. For now, every bandage, every ache, every quiet smile from Sophie reminded him that heroism was not just a moment in fire. It was a choice that continued to shape lives long after the flames had died. 2 weeks after the accident, Jack's life had begun to settle into a fragile routine of recovery, therapy, and quiet reflection. The burns on his back had healed enough for him to wear his uniform comfortably, though gripping tools still brought sharp pangs. His hands, wrapped in bandages, ached with every movement, but the thought of Olivia Sterling alive and safe gave him strength to endure. Jack was fixing a heating unit in the executive wing of Sterling Industries when Roger Bennett, his supervisor, appeared at the doorway. Roger's expression was unusually serious, a mix of respect and nervous anticipation. "Mike, Mr. Sterling wants to see you. Now." Jack froze, wrench still in hand. Alexander Sterling, the CEO of Sterling Industries, had never personally summoned him. In 5 years, he had walked these halls countless times, but always in the background, never in the spotlight. Anxiety gnawed at him. "Is this about the time I missed?" Jack asked, already calculating the impact on his paycheck and responsibilities. "Just go up there, Mike. Diane's expecting you," Roger replied, his voice calm but insistent. The executive elevator felt endless as Jack ascended, walls of polished steel reflecting his apprehension. The top floor was breathtaking. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed a panoramic view of Denver, marble floors gleamed, and artwork whispered of wealth and sophistication. It was a world Jack had never imagined entering. Diane, the CEO's assistant, greeted him warmly. "Mr. Harrison is expecting you. Please, right this way." Jack stepped into the office. Alexander Sterling stood near the windows, tall, imposing, silver-haired, perfectly dressed in a tailored suit. But it was the figure seated nearby that stole Jack's breath, the young woman from the accident. Her arm was in a cast, her forehead still marked with bandages, yet her eyes were sharp, alert, and fixed on him with an intensity that made his chest tighten. "Michael," Alexander said, voice steady but edged with emotion, "I'd like you to meet my daughter, Olivia." The world seemed to tilt. Olivia Sterling, the stranger he had risked everything to save, was Alexander's only child. Jack felt a mix of shock, disbelief, and a profound sense of connection. She struggled to stand, wobbling slightly, before crossing the room and wrapping her uninjured arm around him in a fierce hug. "You saved my life," she whispered, her voice muffled by tears. "They told me everything, your burns, your hands, the flames. You shielded me from the explosion. I can't thank you enough." Jack, overwhelmed, could barely find words. He thought of that morning, the 30 seconds that had defined everything, choosing courage over safety, risking his own life to save a stranger. Now, that choice had not only saved Olivia but also intertwined their lives in ways he couldn't yet comprehend. Alexander Sterling's eyes softened. Mr. Harrison, you have shown what true courage is. Every detail of your life, your devotion to family, your selflessness over the past weeks, it has not gone unnoticed. Olivia is my only child, and I see now that she has found not only a hero but a man of extraordinary character. Olivia pulled back slightly, wiping tears, and smiled at Jack. I've been having nightmares about the accident. But then I remember you were there. Even though I was unconscious, I somehow heard you. You told me I'd be okay. Jack's chest tightened further. I just did what anyone should do. No, Alexander's voice carried quiet authority and warmth. You did what very few could. You risked your life for another, and in doing so, you've changed all our lives. Jack nodded, absorbing the weight of their words. The realization settled over him. Courage doesn't end with survival. It creates ripples, binding people in trust, gratitude, and unexpected connection. The following weeks unfolded like a delicate tapestry, each day weaving together moments of recovery, trust, and newfound connection. Jack's apartment, modest but filled with warmth, became a gathering place where Sophie, Jack, and Olivia began to explore a tentative but growing bond. Sophie, still cautious at first, hid behind Jack's legs the first time Olivia came over. But Olivia, carrying a bag of art supplies and a book of superheroes, knelt on the floor, inviting Sophie to color. Slowly, hesitantly, Sophie emerged from behind her father. Within an hour, the two were sitting cross-legged on the carpet, laughing, exchanging stories, and creating imaginary worlds with crayons and paper. Jack watched them, his heart swelling. Every nervous glance Sophie had thrown at Olivia now melted into laughter and trust. Every small moment of courage and compassion he had shown on Highway 36 rippled into this room, creating connections he hadn't anticipated. Over spaghetti dinners and quiet evenings, conversations deepened. Olivia spoke of her passion for helping children who had lost parents, of the shelters she visited weekly, of dreams and goals that extended far beyond wealth and status. Sophie listened, wide-eyed, absorbing every word. I want to help kids like you, Daddy, she said one evening. Kids who miss their mommies and daddies. Jack felt a lump in his throat. Catherine's words echoed in his memory. Love means showing up, even when it costs everything. The lesson had expanded, beyond his own family, to the lives of others. Small rituals became their new normal. Thursdays were for art projects and storytelling. Sundays, they visited shelters, hospitals, and community centers. Olivia's presence, steady and gentle, brought light into Jack and Sophie's life. Laughter returned to Sophie's eyes, nightmares became less frequent, and a sense of hope, once fragile, began to root itself firmly in their hearts. Jack reflected on the accident often, on the 30 seconds that had changed everything. He thought about how courage, even in the face of fear, had bridged worlds between strangers. How a single choice could create ripples that reshaped lives, built trust, and forged new families from unexpected beginnings. One evening, after Sophie had gone to bed, Jack sat alone in the kitchen, cradling Catherine's coffee mug. He had never used it in 2 years. It had been a silent reminder of loss. That night, he poured himself a cup of coffee, holding the warmth in his hands. Though Catherine was gone, he felt her presence, proud of the choices he had made, proud of the family they were building from the ashes of grief. Jack knew the journey was far from over. The scars on his hands and back, the memories of fire and smoke, would remain. But they were not just reminders of pain. They were symbols of courage, resilience, and the unexpected beauty of human connection. And as he looked at Sophie's sleeping face and remembered Olivia's gentle smile, he realized something profound. Heroism wasn't just about facing danger. It was about showing up, again and again, for those who needed you most. 6 months had passed since the fire, and life had settled into a new rhythm. Jack's hands were still healing, the scars on his back permanent reminders of courage, but his heart was lighter, filled with hope and connection. Sterling Industries' annual gala was approaching, an event that promised elegance, influence, and celebration. Jack stood backstage, dressed in a rented tuxedo Sophie had insisted made him look like James Bond. His palms were sweaty, nerves thrumming in his chest despite the controlled environment of the ballroom. Sophie tugged at his bow tie, looking up at him with wide, expectant eyes. "Daddy, are you ready?" she asked. Jack shook his head with a sheepish smile. Not even a little bit. From the wings, he could hear the soft murmur of the crowd, the clinking of glasses, the orchestral music filling the vast Denver Art Museum Hall. Alexander Sterling's voice carried across the room, commanding attention yet warm and genuine. "Ladies and gentlemen," Alexander began, "tonight, I want to share a story about courage, humanity, and the extraordinary acts of ordinary people. This is the story of Michael Harrison, a man who risked everything to save another, showing us all what it truly means to be brave." The spotlight fell on Jack as he walked onto the stage, Sophie's small hand clasped in his. The audience erupted in a standing ovation, hundreds of eyes filled with admiration, respect, and awe. Jack's focus remained on Sophie, who beamed up at him with pride, and on the photo of Catherine tucked in his jacket, a silent witness to the courage and love that had shaped him. Alexander continued, detailing the morning on Highway 36, the fire, the rescue, and Jack's selflessness. Olivia's eyes glistened with emotion in the front row, reflecting the gratitude and bond that had grown between them. Every word, every glance, every detail of the story reinforced a powerful truth. Courage was not the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite it. After the presentation, Alexander handed Jack a crystal award, engraved with the words, "Extraordinary Courage in the Service of Others." Applause rang out once more. But the real gift was the recognition of something deeper, the affirmation that bravery, love, and selflessness were honored and celebrated. As the crowd continued to cheer, Olivia approached Jack. "You know what the hardest part of recovery was?" she asked softly. Jack shook his head, still overwhelmed. "Knowing that someone risked everything for me, a stranger. It made me realize I had to live a life worthy of that sacrifice. You didn't just save me from the fire. You saved me from a life without purpose." Jack smiled, tears threatening to fall. Sophie tugged at his sleeve, excitedly recounting the story of a father's heroism to anyone who would listen. Olivia's presence, the warmth of family and friendship, and the recognition of courage transformed that night into something more than an award ceremony. It became a testament to the power of choice, love, and connection. From that moment, Jack understood that life's most profound gifts often came from unexpected acts of bravery. A single choice, a fleeting moment of courage, had created a ripple effect that transformed not only one life, but countless others. Exactly 1 year had passed since that fateful morning on Highway 36, and Jack Harrison's life had transformed in ways he never could have imagined. The scars on his hands and back had faded but never disappeared, permanent reminders of the fire, the chaos, and the courage that had changed everything. He now held the position of Vice President of Employee Welfare and Community Outreach at Sterling Industries, a role Alexander Sterling had specifically created for him. It wasn't just a job, it was a calling. Each day, Jack helped employees navigate hardships, ensuring that the company's principles of care and humanity weren't just policies on paper, but lived experiences. Sophie, now thriving in her new private school, had found a sense of security she hadn't known since losing her mother. Olivia Sterling's mentorship and friendship had created a bridge between her childhood grief and a world filled with hope. The nightmares that once haunted Sophie's sleep had faded, replaced with dreams of adventure, imagination, and the promise of bright tomorrows. She spent her afternoons coloring, writing stories, and inventing games inspired by superheroes, a subtle nod to the heroism she had witnessed firsthand in her father. Their routine had settled into a comforting rhythm. Thursdays became art and storytelling days, where Sophie, Jack, and Olivia would sit together on the floor, surrounded by paints, crayons, and paper, creating worlds filled with color and laughter. Sundays were dedicated to visiting children's shelters and hospitals, bringing books, art supplies, and hope to kids who, like Sophie once, had faced tremendous loss. Sophie had declared she wanted to become a feelings doctor, someone who could help children heal from heartbreak. Jack smiled at the thought, proud of his daughter's empathy and the way she had absorbed the lessons of courage and love. One quiet Tuesday morning in October, Jack drove Sophie to school in the car Alexander had insisted he accept. The sun glinted off the windshield, and the autumn air carried a crisp freshness that made the world feel alive. Sophie's rainbow backpack bounced with every step as she skipped toward the school entrance. Her laughter, bright and carefree, filled the car like music. "Love you to the moon, Daddy," Sophie said, her eyes sparkling with mischief and joy. "And back again, sweetheart," Jack replied, a lump forming in his throat. He watched her disappear into the school, feeling Catherine's presence beside him, as if she were quietly approving the life he had rebuilt. The scars on his hands and back, once symbols of pain, now represented resilience, courage, and the profound ripple effect of one small, selfless choice. Evenings were quieter but no less meaningful. As they gathered for dinner, laughter filled the apartment. Olivia often joined them, bringing warmth, conversation, and insights into the world of children and families she worked with. Over spaghetti, pancakes, and sometimes just tea and toast, they shared stories about the week, about hopes, fears, and dreams. Jack reflected silently on what courage really meant. It wasn't about fearlessness. It was about action despite fear. One moment, one 30-second decision on Highway 36 had created a chain reaction of love, trust, and friendship that defined their new reality. Jack often caught himself in reflective moments, thinking about how far Sophie had come and the bond she had developed with Olivia. He thought about the first time Sophie headed behind his legs, shy and cautious, and now watched her giggle freely with Olivia, creating superheroes and imaginary worlds together. The transformation was a testament to resilience and the unexpected beauty of human connection. As months passed, the bond between Jack, Sophie, and Olivia deepened. They were no longer just a trio of chance acquaintances. They had become a family bound by gratitude, courage, and shared experiences. Olivia had become Sophie's honorary big sister, guiding her through school projects, personal challenges, and even the subtle trials of growing up. The apartment echoed with their laughter, and Sophie's curiosity and empathy grew with each passing day. Jack also noticed how Olivia's presence subtly changed him. He was calmer, more reflective, more intentional. He found himself thinking not just about survival, but about living fully and meaningfully. Every time he watched Sophie interacting with Olivia, or sharing her stories of courage and empathy, he was reminded that heroism wasn't just about single acts of bravery. It was about creating a ripple effect that nurtured the next generation, that built trust, hope, and love. One evening, as Sophie recounted the day's adventures and Olivia laughed along with her, Jack found himself pausing to reflect. The past year had been intense, painful, and transformative. The accident, the fire, the risks, all had led to a life more meaningful than he could have imagined. He felt Catherine's presence in those quiet, reflective moments, reminding him that love wasn't about avoiding danger or loss, but about showing up, consistently and bravely, for the people who mattered most. Jack lifted Catherine's old coffee mug from the cabinet. He had kept it untouched for 2 years, a silent memorial to love and loss. That night, he poured coffee into it and drank slowly, savoring the warmth, feeling a connection not just to Catherine, but to the life he had rebuilt and the family he now cherished. Nothing would bring Catherine back, but somehow, in that moment, it felt like she was there, proud of the choices he had made, proud of the bonds he had fostered, proud of the family they were building from the ashes. As the camera, or the viewer, imagines the scene, Jack turns slightly, almost breaking the fourth wall. Have you ever had a moment that changed your life completely? Share it in the comments. I want to hear your story. If you could tell someone that courage and love really matter, what would you say? Type it below. Which part of our story made you feel hope? Was it Sophie, Olivia, or the heroism that started it all? Even as the year progressed, they continued their new traditions. Every Thursday, Olivia arrived with new ideas for art projects and storytelling, and every Sunday they visited children in hospitals and shelters. Sophie's laughter and excitement became a daily reminder of the power of human connection, resilience, and love. Jack realized that heroism wasn't just about dramatic acts in dangerous moments. It was about consistent presence, love, and courage in everyday life. One decision, made in a split second, had cascaded into a year of transformation, healing, and joy. The narrative closes with a reflective, inspiring line. Sometimes heroes don't wear capes. They show up, they protect, they love, and they create ripples that change the world. Who is your everyday hero? Tag them in the comments. As months passed, the bond between Jack, Sophie, and Olivia deepened. They were no longer just a trio of chance acquaintances. They had become a family bound by gratitude, courage, and shared experiences. Olivia had become Sophie's honorary big sister, guiding her through school projects, personal challenges, and even the subtle trials of growing up. The apartment echoed with their laughter, and Sophie's curiosity and empathy grew with each passing day. Jack also noticed how Olivia's presence subtly changed him. He was calmer, more reflective, more intentional. He found himself thinking not just about survival, but about living fully and meaningfully. Every time he watched Sophie interacting with Olivia, or sharing her stories of courage and empathy, he was reminded that heroism wasn't just about single acts of bravery. It was about creating a ripple effect that nurtured the next generation, that built trust, hope, and love. One evening, as Sophie recounted the day's adventures and Olivia laughed along with her, Jack found himself pausing to reflect. The past year had been intense, painful, and transformative. The accident, the fire, the risks, all had led to a life more meaningful than he could have imagined. He felt Catherine's presence in those quiet, reflective moments, reminding him that love wasn't about avoiding danger or loss, but about showing up consistently and bravely for the people who mattered most. Jack lifted Catherine's old coffee mug from the cabinet. He had kept it untouched for 2 years, a silent memorial to love and loss. That night, he poured coffee into it and drank slowly, savoring the warmth, feeling a connection not just to Catherine, but to the life he had rebuilt and the family he now cherished. Nothing would bring Catherine back, but somehow, in that moment, it felt like she was there, proud of the choices he had made, proud of the bonds he had fostered, proud of the family they were building from the ashes. As the camera, or the viewer, imagines the scene, Jack turns slightly, almost breaking the fourth wall. Have you ever had a moment that changed your life completely? Share it in the comments. I want to hear your story. If you could tell someone that courage and love really matter, what would you say? Type it below. Which part of our story made you feel hope? Was it Sophie, Olivia, or the heroism that started it all? Even as the year progressed, they continued their new traditions. Every Thursday, Olivia arrived with new ideas for art projects and storytelling, and every Sunday they visited children in hospitals and shelters. Sophie's laughter and excitement became a daily reminder of the power of human connection, resilience, and love. Jack realized that heroism wasn't just about dramatic acts in dangerous moments. It was about consistent presence, love, and courage in everyday life. One decision, made in a split second, had cascaded into a year of transformation, healing, and joy. The narrative closes with a reflective, inspiring line. Sometimes heroes don't wear capes. They show up, they protect, they love, and they create ripples that change the world. Who is your everyday hero? Tag them in the comments.